Well, here is a cold weather update. Still waiting for a couple of potties to thaw out. It's now 15 degrees outside, and I just keep waiting. Two of my sinks did thaw out, and I am very grateful for that. So I've been out. I had a doctor's appointment, actually got out for the first time in a while, and now I am treating myself to a great big bowl of beef stew, compliments of Whole Foods, and some delicious Manakora honey as I sit here and look for inspiration on my own YouTube channel. I told you recently that I don't frequently go back and look at my own videos, but today I thought I would especially revisit those tours of other people's homes and gardens that we did to see if I could come up with some inspiration for my own cottage. Will you join me?
Well, I am standing here in front of this gorgeous English Tudor revival home. This home is in Lincoln Terrace, another historic neighborhood here in Oklahoma City. If you have watched the tour that we did at John Turman's home, this is very close to his home. Also very, very close to the Oklahoma Capitol, and I cannot wait to see this garden because I have not seen it, so you and we are going to experience it together. So Stuart, let's go. Okay, Stuart, come on, let's come through the gate. I am so excited. Okay, I have to point out, look, she's got some conical topiaries right here. Looks like some kind of boxwood. There's a grassy area here. This is starting to look like a quintessential English garden, Stuart. So there's a little, kind of like an ellipse or something, half of an ellipse that's in here with a bird bath, lots of Russian sage and some roses that, if I'm not mistaken, were transplanted from another area of the garden. And this, I think, because I've seen pictures of this, Stuart, and it was so reminiscent of my own garden, partly I think because of the stained color of the fence. And it looks like we've got maybe a Taylor juniper here, but come around. Oh my gosh. And Roger is here waiting for us.
Come in here.
Is this not the quintessential English cottage garden or what?
Well, it's an English garden with a slight Chinese accent.
Well, blue and white, because blue and white is so popular right now, and just so befitting of an English Tudor revival home.
Right. I mean, that was the starting off point. The client wanted an English garden, but she's a very modern person too, so we've added a few little extra kicks in there for her creative side.
Oh my gosh, I just love the blousiness of it. I love the clipped, it's my favorite thing, the clipped boxwood with the tension of the blousiness. And we're in the first week of November. So this stuff is still looking great.
Still looking great. We had, that one night that we dipped down to almost 32, but not quite. The best thing about it, I think, is we survived this horrendous drought and excessive heat summer because we just installed this garden this year.
Wow.
This is, not even 12 months old.
Okay, so you must have been very cognizant of that when you did your plant selections.
We did. We didn't know it was going to be quite so brutal this summer when we were planting, but we did actually have to stop at one point because it was just getting too hot to plant anymore.
What are we looking at? I feel so much in a way like I'm in my own garden because of the picket fence and the way it's stained is very reminiscent of mine. But what kind of expanse are we looking at? What is the scale of this room?
I couldn't tell you that, but the funny thing is, we started with a blank slate. There was nothing here. We had these existing crepe myrtles, but of course they'd been frozen to the ground from the deep freeze.
Right.
We started with kind of an architectural framework. There's symmetry from different angles, But the other thing that's really cool is that we've aligned certain vantage points, like from the kitchen window, from the breakfast room window, from the back door, from the covered porch. So we have pairs of things, but then we break up that rhythm. We've got 4 big boxwoods that anchor the corners, but 2 of them are in raised beds and 2 of them are in the ground.
So it's both formal and informal, which and it's clipped boxwood, so that lends a formality. And you've used both conicals and boxwood balls. Now, what variety are most of these?
Most of them are little gems. We have like hedges, little small hedges of little gems. We've got
like
little
baby
gem.
gems? That's a good.
I'm sorry, baby gem.
Gems. Okay,
baby gem.
Good.
We've got. I know we've got winter green. Mostly baby gem and winter green.
Okay, good Southern living plant, Stuart. Now, what I love, if you can show Stuart, if so, the vantage point from the back door, it's just so charming, and it's on axis with the entrance into this area, into the English garden area, which makes this kind of a destination. But let's start at the very beginning. So tell me a little bit about the back door and the porch.
Well, let me say, this is a destination and it's also a passageway, because the flagstone path leads you into this room, but it also leads you through to her art studio and another garden in the back.
What?
Yes, we have a little secret garden.
Oh my gosh.
That we can explore.
Well, right now I am really surrounded by Thanksgiving prep chaos because I'm getting ready to set my table. I'm deciding on my china, I'm deciding on my crystal, but I already decided on my tablecloth. This is a beautiful tablecloth. I just got it off of Amazon. I'll make sure to put the link below. I am reusing that ugly thrift store wreath that I transformed into a centerpiece, which is all a miss right now with some of these spray paints. I will put those links so that if you guys want to go out, you want to forge your own items, you want to thrift your own items from China to serving pieces to whatever, you have the opportunity to do that. And I can't wait to show you the end result next week as we all prepare for Mr. Turkey to come to town. So what did you do to the back landing, which you told me was very awkward, steep, even dangerous?
It was really kind of awkward, and it just didn't fit the house. Originally, there was a canvas awning, which we've replaced with a metal awning, and that looks appropriate for the house. It's a Tudor, so we've got, Gothic detailing that would be appropriate for that. The door had 2 small concrete steps, like you'd see on a double wide.
That's how mine was. Yeah, that was how mine was.
Coming down to a long landing that came out beyond the column and then turned and ran down a sidewalk across the back of the back porch. So it was awkward getting down those 2, it was unattractive, but it was also awkward getting down those 2 steps, and also if you wanted to go from there into the covered back porch, which is in a spectacular room, it was just awkward. So we replaced the canvas awning with the metal awning. We did a broad landing that was wide enough to come out and cover the whole entrance to the covered porch, so you can now easily walk down a generous set of steps into the porch. And then those steps come down, they also go off to the west, that leads us into the
herb garden.
Yeah, the herb garden there. And so a new railing again with the Gothic arch detail.
So lots of repeated features between the awning, the wrought iron gate, and even the pickets on the fence.
Exactly. Well, we've used a French Gothic picket. Gothic picket has the Gothic point, and the French Gothic has the extra little indentations at the bottom of the arch. And that was, our client, Susan, was very involved in those decisions. And
well, and you can even see that the stain on the fence matches the stain of the downspout. So one thing relates to the other, and I can't imagine, that looks like it's a lot of cascading basil.
It's one
oh
plant.
My gosh.
I don't know why, but we had a big pot of basil at the office, and we planted that. That was something that was planted at the end of the summer after the heat.
Well, it is happy there, and can I say the fragrance must be spectacular.
It is. It really is. And you know, just walking past it and brushing against it is so wonderful.
Well, and you were saying that Susan, the owner, lives a truly garden-inspired lifestyle, because you said you were out here the other day and you were roaming around the garden, and then that led to a glass of wine, and then the glass of wine led to some pasta, and she came out and clipped her herbs, and before you know it, you had wiled away. How many hours?
I know.
Out,
it was
out
like,
here.
we don't want to say.
And
but
you know, all this stuff is just, it's great. So this looks like Diamond Frost euphorbia.
That's
here.
right.
And this is?
Gomphrena. It's a relatively new cultivar. I discovered it about 3 years ago. It's called Fireworks.
I love
and
it.
it just has these little yellow stamens, you know, that look like sparklers on it.
And I love the way they blend and merge and insinuate their way into one another, even when they've kind of fallen over.
Yeah, they kind of overtook things. This is primarily a perennial garden. There are only three annuals in this whole landscape, with the exception of some of the basils and some of the annual herbs.
Right.
But the idea is that these annuals were placed here primarily for the first couple of years, because you can't see them because they're hidden, and hopefully they're healthy. There are perennials in here that will spread and fill in the space that the annuals are taking up right now.
I love this color combo of the Perovskia, the Russian sage, and this. You've got a sweet little cotoneus. Is that a cotoneus?
No, that's a dwarf elm.
I need one of those.
Okay, that's a dwarf
Jamie
elm.
had one too,
yes.
and I want one of those to put in a pot. And then look here, you've got the garden ornament that we so love, and a lot of this is blue and white. You've got, as you said, just a touch of Asia here in all sorts of different scales of pots, both large and small.
And it took a lot of planning to make it look so random, you know.
And then we've got some additional seating here.
Right.
In the garden. Because you know you've got to weed.
And we didn't want to get it too stuffy, so we only have one lion instead of a pair of lions.
Well, it's a little bit whimsical.
She bought a new property, which we're going to have to see at some point. And the day after she closed on the property, we were over there digging up peonies and some of the Russian sage and some of the other salvias to bring them over here.
Reuse, recycle, repurpose, even the green stuff.
Yes.
And so then I love the creeping thyme that grows over the flagstone. Very, very English. I love the way you've got this yopon pruned up.
This is really hot, as you can imagine. We're facing west, and so these will eventually give us some more height and give us some more shade.
Well, and I see, and again, more herbs just kind of randomly around, more of the blue and white strategically placed pots.
With lion feet.
With lion feet.
We've got a lion resting and lion feet.
Okay, so there definitely is a thematic. And then it looks like to complete your list of plants, and you've got a wonderful, I cannot, of course, you and me, you know how we love our topiary.
Yes.
So it looks like we've got some Salvia gregae in here, some daisies, some Gara that's probably past its bloom, what else do we have back in here? Some
Mealy cup sage.
Yeah, just all sorts of fun things in that same color palette. And you know, this really isn't.
Oh, this little purple skull cap is a nice.
Oh yeah, it's
nice
very
accent.
sweet. It's very sweet. So a tight color palette, which I think kind of brings it all together. And then you've got some. Now we definitely You have your bottle details in here, don't
Yes.
you? Inset, tip to steel, some.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you didn't even notice those, Stuart?
I had to switch my brand of beer for several months to get enough blue bottles for this project.
You
I sacrificed
for your art.
right?
You do, you
Right.
do. You know, Stuart coined the term bottle bouquet.
Right,
After going over to John Terman's, and can I just say, this is just within spitting distance
Right,
of John
yes.
Terman's. It's just not far at all. Is this Helen von
Stein, lamb's ear.
Lamb's ear, and
And I think that might have been a 1 gallon plant at the beginning of the summer.
which
It
is
could be 3 1 gallons, but I really this was just been in one of the
Very,
big
very
stars
happy.
of the show.
And there's some, it looks like some white scaviola back
That's
in.
the third of the annuals.
Of the annuals. And then I still see lavender and boy,
That's
that
all lemon thyme around that
Lemon-thyme,
little topiary.
variegated lemon thyme. And I typically mulch all of my pots in more of an earth colored pea gravel because she's got more gray blue sensibilities here.
Mm-hmm.
Hers is all of this.
Yeah, so that's just a larger version of the small gravel that we have that we're walking on.
Point out, you pointed at it.
Yeah, right here. Where, mine is typically kind of an earth colored gravel,
Yeah, that's true.
but hers, and then he was saying that this, and I love this because it is one of the reasons things harmonize, is it's just a larger version of this crushed gravel, because our affection for gravel just increases with every year as it
Right.
gets hotter and hotter and hotter.
And Susan is one of those clients who, when we were talking about gravel, one of the things she liked about gravel was the sound.
Oh, yes.
And that's
Well, it's very.
It is.
It's very
it is
sensual.
charming.
Okay, loving this ginkgo.
That is dwarf ginkgo. It won't get very much bigger than that. It's called Chi-Chi, spelled T-S-C-H-I twice.
Okay.
And it maxes out, I think, at about 5 to 6 feet tall and about 5 to 6 feet wide. But it's we have several cultivars of ginkgos at the office, and one has already turned golden yellow and starting to drop its leaves, and the Chi-Chis are just now starting to pick up a little bit of yellow.
Well, this is another example of just how much you can cram into a small space, and yet it still looks orderly. It's both a growing space and a living area space. I spy some hollyhocks. I spy
That was
some,
something that we dug up from the other property. So, and it just turned out to be a beautiful hollyhock. It's kind of
And you know
red with a green eye.
when you get properties that can share, that's such an economical way to really create volume. And now back here, this fence, this is a tip here, this fence is a little bit taller than the entrance fence.
We wanted a little extra privacy at the back, plus we built this little alcove for Bill.
Yes, yes.
And so we needed that to be able to make that transition. And that's something that's really fun is, the William Shakespeare bust is a really fine old sculpture of Italian white Carrara marble.
Oh my gosh.
And then over here on the other pedestal, we've got a giant rusted barbed wire ball.
Wire, yes.
And the barbed wire ball is on a classical pedestal, and the classical bust is on a rusted metal pedestal.
We've got classical William over here juxtaposed against Oklahoma barbed wire ball, but the spherical shape of it still gives it a classic feel.
It looks like a piece of sculpture. And again, not very many clients would let us do that. And I thought I knew Susan well enough that I could just bring this over. I went ahead and had the crew come over, install that massive pedestal and the barbed wire on top of it, and let her react when she saw it, and she loved it.
Okay, now this homeowner is an artist, is she not?
Yes,
Okay.
And a art gallery owner.
Okay, and what medium does she?
She's a painter.
Painter.
But she's dabbled in a lot of media.
Okay, look at how cute
That's another little dwarf elm.
Just kind of tucked away here. There's so much to look at in this small space.
And that Artemisia silver lace.
Yes.
Oh, that was a 1 gallon plant when we planted that this summer.
And then, is that just oregano?
That's
over
just
there?
oregano. We've got the Millennium onion, you know, the little lavender allium, betony, the pink betony.
So I am sure, now we're standing here and it's predominantly shady, but I'm sure when this is in full sun, it is so fragrant.
Yes.
Okay, I am dying to see.
Okay.
I am dying
Right.
to see what's back here. And it looks like everything's just been recently overseeded. Is this
Right.
is this with a rye or with a fescue?
This is fescue, because this area back here is so shady. Most of it is so shady. We had the circular patio to work with. These 2 maples were here. Some of the larger plants were here. But you'll see, you know, in the before pictures, this was a straight line of square paving blocks. And we replaced it with these large slabs. This is an Oklahoma stone from a quarry down in southeastern Oklahoma that we like to use.
And Oklahoma meets English cottage garden.
Right.
And I love this, and I love the selection of the stone with just the perfect rounded shape that echoes the curve
That's
of the patio.
The thing about a
brilliant.
flagstone like this is it really looks random, but there really is a lot of thought that's put into it.
To each piece.
And fortunately, the guys that we work with that lay this are very patient and understanding.
You know, and this is so statement making, and this is not prohibitively expensive to do. This is
it's all dry laid. It's all used brick.
just really,
So that
really
was
effective.
an element of the original landscape that we kept, and then we've just added to the shade garden.
And what a lovely shady oasis in the heat of an Oklahoma summer. And this is her charming studio.
Isn't this great?
Where her artistic magic happens. Now, Stuart, come this way, because this is a perfect example of what I call a theory of garden relativity, and that's that every one thing in the garden relates to every other thing. In other words, you wouldn't have to just walk through the grass to get to the driveway.
Right.
You have an element of passageway here that goes in 2 different directions, one into the charming little English cottage garden, and then this also relates to the driveway, so you can go either way. I love that.
You're so perceptive.
I'm so perceptive. Well, I think so often it's what separates a really fabulous garden from just a pretty garden, because a lot of times people would have just done this and they wouldn't have thought about adding that additional fork in the road.
Right.
And there would just be a place where people took that, and then there'd be...
Well, we really did want to make sure it's also a functional garden. You know, if she's unloading art supplies and coming around here, or coming around to take trash out, or whatever.
So instead of a muddy path through the grass, then you've got these charming stepping stones. Well, this is just incredible. And then we're not even really looking at some of the infrastructure.
Isn't that beautiful?
pieces.
Now that Canart juniper is such a beautiful specimen. It was here. So we have worked with that, and we've added another Canart juniper. The columnar English oak was here, but it was back in this shady area, and we transplanted it out here. We added a Taylor juniper for a vertical accent at the other end of the fence, because there was already one here, so we were able to repeat that. And we've also added one by the steps that kind of add some height to that wall next to the awning.
Well, and you people at Garden Design, you are brave about relocating large specimens.
Well, doing it carefully, and probably one of the most important things is doing it at the right time.
Yeah, the timing. So for those who don't know, when in Oklahoma is the best time to relocate really large specimens?
Well, something like that, it's always best to do it when it's dormant. You definitely don't do it in the middle of the summer. I think we moved that in.
We don't do anything in the middle of the summer in Oklahoma.
We did that in very late winter. And the other thing here is you'll see a lot of roses in this garden, which we don't use roses as much as we used to because of the rose rosette, but Susan had a lot of roses in the landscape, and so we really relocated all those. Most of them have done really well. Again, we dug them up, I think, in like maybe February, had them in pots until we were ready to replant them.
Is this like a Queen Elizabeth? Or?
No, it's a little
Boy,
dark
it's
for
got a
Queen
wonderful
Elizabeth.
Fragrance. Wonderful fragrance.
But these roses, the roses in here, were along the opening of this of the back porch, which cut the porch off from the rest of the yard. Plus, when you were sitting in there, you were looking at the back side of the roses, and especially in winter, that wasn't great. And we talked with Susan and asked, there was a sidewalk across here that she really never used. And what we did is we added this flagstone path that comes over to the garage, and it's really more convenient for her to use this to get out to the garage and get in and out of the car.
Well, and it doesn't make you feel also so crammed onto the porch. You feel like you're not quite so
we've got a view now. So
yeah, really lovely.
And so we've got a nice arch with the bed, and then added that focal point of the bird bath.
By the way, this must be a wonderful pollinator
yes,
garden.
the pollinators love it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just a wonderful garden for us humans, it's a wonderful garden for pollinators that I'm sure just love it.
Oh, it was incredible this summer. All of the bees, everything. Butterflies. It really was wonderful.
Well, they love it, and we love you.
Oh,
for showing
thank you. Thanks for coming.
This is absolutely wonderful. If you guys enjoyed this as much as I did, make sure to press the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And of course, feel free to share this with others who might be as charmed by this wonderful English garden as we are.